قد أفلح المؤمنون.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل Muhammad. Respected Muslim brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today we will be continuing our series on the life of Imam al-Husayn, particularly his role during the life of Imam al-Hasan al-Mujtaba salamullahi alayhi during the Imamah of his elder brother al-Imam al-Mujtaba, as well as going over some of the important reports regarding his life during this period. So with that being said, I wish to begin the discussion or begin the lecture with a very unique and very beautiful fadila of the two Hasanayn salamullahi alayhim. It is reported by Shaykh al-Himyari in his book Qurb al-Isnad on page 101, hadith number 339, with his chain to Amir al-Mu'mineen salamullahi alayh, while Ibn Abi Shayba reported in his Musannaf in volume 18, page 98, hadith number 34,367, and Abu Ya'la recorded it in his Mu'jam, not in the Musnad that we usually quote, but Mu'jam Abi Ya'la, page 171, hadith number 196. So we see that these three sources give us a narrative, or they give us a hadith, they give us a report that is very, very beautiful, and it is one that some people may not be aware of or they may not be familiar with, and so I've decided to narrate it for you. So these reports all say, when we look at them together, they give us this hadith. So from Amir al-Mu'mineen salamullahi alayh, and from Imam Muhammad al-Baqir, who no doubt got it from his blessed ancestors, he said that once al-Hasan and al-Husayn were wrestling in front of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. So when they were wrestling, the two young Hasanayn, Rasulullah would call out for Imam al-Hasan. He would say, "Hasan, catch hold of Husayn." As in, Rasulullah is cheering on al-Imam al-Hasan salamullahi alayh, saying, "Hasan, you can do it, get him, catch hold of al-Husayn." And so Fatima alayhi salam was present when she saw this. So she said, "Ya Rasulullah, are you encouraging the big one against the little one?" So, Ya Rasulullah, you're supporting, like, poor Husayn. Who's supporting Husayn? You know, you're supporting his older brother, you're cheering for al-Hasan. But what about young Husayn salamullahi alayhi? Who's cheering for him? And so Rasulullah replied, "It is Jibreel alayhi salam who is saying to al-Husayn, Husayn, catch hold of al-Hasan." And this report is very, very beautiful. It is one of the forgotten fada'il of the two Sayyids salamullahi alayhim. And so this report, there are a few takeaways from it, other than the wholesome nature of it and how adorable it is, we would say. But there is some a serious aqa'idi side to this that we must discuss. Number one, this hadith shows you the superiority of al-Imam al-Hasan to al-Imam al-Husayn, because Rasulullah is cheering for Imam al-Hasan, and Jibreel alayhi salam is cheering for al-Husayn salamullahi alayhi. We know without a doubt that Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam is the greatest of Allah's creation, and Allah did not create anyone greater than Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam. So the fact that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi is cheering for Imam al-Hasan and not al-Husayn shows you that the superior of the two is al-Imam al-Hasan al-Mujtaba salamullahi alayhi. That's point number one. Point number two is that we see that Jibreel is cheering for al-Imam al-Husayn salamullahi alayh as the two brothers are wrestling. So the question becomes, can Imam al-Hasan hear Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayh? We say yes. Now, if you ask the mukhalifeen, if the Imams alayhim salam, if al-Husayn can hear Jibreel, they will say this is ghulu. To which we reply, why is Rasulullah being unfair with his grandchildren? If al-Hasan has Rasulullah cheering for him and he can hear him, and Husayn has Jibreel cheering for him but he can't hear him, what's the point? Correct? If al-Husayn salamullahi alayh, we say that al-Husayn alayhi salam cannot hear Jibreel, and we say this is unfair. Poor Husayn is up against his older brother who's being cheered on by Rasulullah, and he has no one to support him. And so we say that this hadith from our corpus, the corpus of the Ahlul Bayt, when you understand that the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam can hear Jibreel alayhi salam, but they cannot see him. Only Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam can see Jibreel al-Amin salamullahi alayh. But the Imams alayhim salam, the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, they can hear him. They can hear the angels, but they cannot see him. So the fact that al-Husayn salamullah alayh, even in his youth, when he's wrestling with his older brother Jibra'il al-Amin salamullah alayh, is cheering for him, encouraging him, this is a great fadila for Aba Abdullah salamullah alayh. And then the last point that I wish to highlight, and this one we will inshallah, in the upcoming parts we will go over the maqtal of Aba Abdullah al-Husayn, is that Jibra'il is cheering for al-Imam al-Husayn salamullah alayh as he wrestles with his older brother. One must ask themselves what the angels were doing when al-Husayn alayhi salam was fighting in his last moments in Karbala. Okay? Now we will go over some events from the life of Imam al-Husayn during the Imamah of his brother al-Hasan. And by now, the two Sayyids are grown men. They are both, grown up. And al-Hasan alayhi salam has now taken the position of Imam after his father. So these reports come from that time period. So the first report we will be going over is from Thiqat al-Islam Kulayni rahimahullah, who reported in Kitab al-Kafi in volume 1, book 4, chapter 64, hadith number 6. We read in Kitab al-Kafi Sharif with his chain, and this is a very, very long hadith dealing with imamah, dealing with other matters. However, there is a maqta' here, there is a part here that we are going to focus on that is related to our discussion regarding the two Imams alayhim salam. Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam said, when al-Hasan was present, al-Husayn alayhi salam said nothing in a session until al-Hasan rose to leave. This is a very, very important report, is that when the two Hasans were in the room during the Imamah of Aba Muhammad al-Mujtaba salamullah alayh, Imam al-Hasan was silent. Imam al-Husayn alayhi salam was silent while Imam al-Hasan spoke. So there is a few points to consider here. Number one, a lot of people have this misconception that, we value al-Imam al-Husayn more than Imam al-Hasan. That is not true. That is simply not true. We know that Imam al-Husayn alayhi salam considered his brother to be greater than him and more knowledgeable than him, and to be Allah's representative and to be the superior Imam alayhi salam. With all the fada'il that Aba Abdullah al-Husayn has, Imam al-Hasan is greater than him. And we have stressed this point over and over and over again, because while all of our Imams are madloom in a sense, Imam al-Hasan salamullah alayhi, as we have gone over, in some ways, he is more neglected than some of the other Imams. Correct? Whoever loves al-Imam al-Husayn must love Imam al-Hasan. In the same way that whoever loves Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam must love Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. طيب? The next point that I would like to point out when it comes to this is this very interesting phenomenon when you look at our Imams. When we look at Amir al-Mu'mineen, salamullah alayh, we want a compilation of his words and his sayings and all the well-known quotes attributed to him. You know, the most famous compilation of this is Nahj al-Balagha, which is a source, as we've gone over, is not mu'tabar. It is not everything in it is authentic. It is chainless. It is not hujjah when it comes to fiqh or when it comes to debate or aqa'id, but it is at the very least a compilation. This compilation, you can go through it and check for the authenticity of the individual reports. But there's something very interesting about this that no one points out. Has anyone ever noticed that when it comes to the sayings and the quotes of Amir al-Mu'mineen, almost none of them come from the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi? All the khutbahs, all the pearls of wisdom, all the ahkam fiqhiyah, none of them really come from the time of Rasulullah. Meaning that while Rasulullah was still alive, Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen was not getting up and delivering khutbahs. Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen was not giving out his own rulings. Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen salamullah alayh was the student and Rasulullah was the teacher. But then you notice after Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam is martyred and Amir al-Mu'mineen becomes the Imam, you see all that knowledge revealed. This is why we often advise people is that if you want to attain knowledge, you want to attain wisdom, you have to know when to remain quiet. You have to know when to let the teacher speak, and then you listen, you learn, you go through your period of training. Likewise, Imam al-Husayn was this way with his older brother al-Hasan. While al-Hasan is the Imam, Al-Husayn, while he's also considered an imam, he's learning from his older brother. He's not disputing with his older brother. And this leads into a shubha that has been become popular in recent years. It is reported by Ibn Sa'd in his Kitab al-Tabaqat in volume 6, page 384 to page 385, as well as Tarikh al-Tabari volume 18, page 5, that when Al-Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen salamullahi alayhi passed away and al-Hasan became the Imam, he wrote a letter to Muawiyah where he started opening the negotiations regarding peace and regarding a guarantee of safe conduct for himself and his family. So according to this report, al-Husayn alayhi salam said to Imam al-Hasan, don't do this. I implore you by God, do not believe Muawiyah and rather believe Ali. And so Imam al-Hasan told him, shut up, I know more about the matter than you. Ila akhirih. طيب. Is this report authentic? According to a Sheikh Muhammad Baqir al-Mahmoudi rahmatullahi alayh, in his tahqiq of Tabaqat ibn Sa'd, he says these reports are weak in their chains of transmission as well as their content. So, as for Tabari's report, it is disconnected and it goes back to Uthman ibn Abd al-Rahman, a man well known for narrating from weak and unknown narrators. And his bio can be found on the Hadith database, where they corroborate what I just said. The other report goes back to a man by the name of Amr ibn Dinar. Amr ibn Dinar was a tabi'i. Now, generally, when it comes to history, our rule is very, very simple. And a lot of people ask me this, like, how do we, when it comes to history, we don't just reject reports because a narrator is weak. That is one reason to weaken a report. But to reject a historical report, we simply have to say that it is uncorroborated, or that there's something wrong with the matan. And here, this goes against the teachings of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. The two Sayyids salamullahi alayhim, we would not accept that Imam al-Hasan would speak to al-Husayn this way, nor that al-Husayn alayhi salam would go against his older brother al-Hasan, as we have seen in the previous report. As for the other rule that we use is that when we have reports that are disconnected, we have a report from someone like Amr ibn Dinar. Amr ibn Dinar was born in the year 46 after Hijrah, and this can be seen in his bio on the Hadith database. So he was born well after these events. So when it comes to the marasil of someone like this, would we accept them or reject them? And we say we would reject them because the marasil of someone who's reliable, like Sa'id ibn al-Musayyib, for example, we can accept that, we can work with that. The marasil of a reliable historian, we can work with that. But as for Amr ibn Dinar, his marasil are rejected by us because Amr ibn Dinar, according to Ibn Abi al-Hadid in his Sharh Nahj al-Balagha, Amr ibn Dinar is da'if, according to us. Because he had the ara of the Khawarij, that he was someone with Khariji views, and that he reported that the Imam Ali salamullahi alayhi tried to marry the daughter of Abu Jahl, which is a fabrication and a lie that we have already gone over. So this report, this shubha that Imam al-Husayn salamullahi alayhi was eager to keep the war going, and that he wanted to keep the war going, and that he desired to see this conflict to keep the conflict going, and that he wanted it to he didn't want to stop. This is not true. Al-Imam al-Husayn salamullahi alayhi, we could say yes, he wanted to fight Muawiyah, as we will see later in some other reports. But at the same time, Imam al-Husayn salamullahi alayhi would never oppose his brother's decision. If his brother wanted the war to continue, or then he would do so. But if his brother saw that making peace was the best option, then the same way that we obey our Imam, al-Husayn salamullahi alayhi would obey his Imam. So we, in summary, reject this story, we reject this report. Continuing on with some of the other reports of Imam al-Husayn salamullahi alayhi and his older brother, we see some interesting reports regarding the two brothers during Hajj. So there is a tradition reported by Ibn Sa'd in his Kitab al-Tabaqat in volume 6, page 412, with his isnad to Ammar ibn Muawiyah al-Duhani. And we know that this report, this is a very famous isnad, or that Muawiyah ibn Ammar is a very famous tabi'i, that he would narrate these sorts of reports. So he reports something regarding the two Hasanayn. طيب. He reports this on the authority of Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, radwanullahi ta'ala alayhi, who's one of the young Sahaba from the Ansar. He says, I saw al-Hasan and al-Husayn praying Asr with the Imam, then they came to the Hajar al-Aswad and they kissed it. After that, they performed tawaf 7 times and prayed 2 rak'ahs. The people said, these are the 2 sons of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam, and so the people began to crowd around them, to gather around them. So essentially what happened here, in order to give a little more context, what essentially is happening is that people saw al-Hasan wal-Husayn alayhim salam at Hajj, and they basically crowded around them the same way we see sometimes people will crowd around a scholar or a celebrity. So the report says that people crowded around them until they could not move forward, and with them was a man from the Rukana tribe. And I want to stop here for a second. The Rukana tribe, this is a reference to a man by the name of Rukana. Rukana, there's a very famous story about him regarding the seerah of the Prophet, is that Rukana said to Rasulullah, if you wrestle me, if you manage to pin me down, I will accept Islam. And so Rasulullah easily beat him in this wrestling match. And I believe he challenged him again, and Rasulullah beat him, but he did not accept Islam in that moment. And I think maybe later he accepted Islam. And so the Arab, for them, the son of Rukana had a son. It seems they inherited his physical strength. The Arab used to say that if they see something heavy, they would say even Rukana's son can't lift that. Correct? So this report says that when the Hasanain alayhim salam, when people began to crowd around them, al-Imam al-Husayn salamullahi alayh grabbed the hand of that Rukani, the man from Bani Rukana, and they moved the people away from al-Imam al-Hasan salamullahi alayh. So essentially, al-Imam al-Husayn, we see in the previous reports, he functions, we see that he is a student of his older brother, but when needed, he would function in the role of a bodyguard. As in him and this man from Bani Rukana, they functioned as Imam al-Hasan's bodyguards and, kept the people away from him because they were crowding him, they were getting too close, we would say. And so Abu Sa'id al-Khudri continues the report. He says, he, al-Imam al-Hasan, was highly respected. So whenever you hear the Nawasib saying, Hasan and Husayn weren't scholars, no one cared about them, Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, Abu Hurairah, Ibn Umar, these people are more important, we say no, rather, the historical reports make it clear that these Sayyids, these Imams, were very highly esteemed and very highly respected. It's just that your sect has no reports from them, or that your sect weakened most of the reports from them. We, alhamdulillah, preserve them, and we will go over that in a bit. So Abu Sa'id continues, I did not see them pass by the Rukn next to the Hajar from the direction of the Hijr, except that they touched or kissed it. So Ammar ibn Muawiyah asks, I said to Abu Sa'id, perhaps there remained some part of the 7 tawafs and the prayer that the prayer interrupted for them. So Abu Sa'id said, no, rather they completed the full 7 times. So we see here, other than how interesting this report is, we see that Abu Sa'id is narrating this to give ahkam of Hajj. Is that he is using the example of al-Imam al-Hasan wal Imam al-Husayn to give ahkam regarding the Hajj. Now, we shall go over some of the reports regarding al-Imam al-Husayn salamullahi alayh during his own Imamah. And some people might be saying, you did not cover enough reports about Imam al-Husayn during the Imamah of Imam al-Hasan. We went over a lot of them during the biography of Imam al-Hasan. That's why we've said this a couple of times, these 2 series are meant to be watched together, inshallah, in order to benefit from them.